Today, we're going to make these delicious whole wheat chocolate chip cookies. You'll need 1 cup or 2 sticks of butter, 1 cup of granulated sugar, a half a cup of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 2 eggs, and 2 cups of chocolate chips. You're also going to add a half a cup of cocoa powder, 2 1/3 cups of whole wheat flour. You can choose what type of whole wheat you want to use, whether that is red whole wheat. I prefer white whole wheat. 1 teaspoon of baking soda and a half a teaspoon of salt. Now it's time to start with adding the butter to the bowl. And from this point, you're going to add your sugars, both the brown sugar and the granulated sugar. And you're going to cream that together to make a nice smooth consistency. So as you can see here, it's going to only take a few minutes to get it completely incorporated. And what you're trying to do is melt the sugar into the butter to get a nice fluffy consistency for your next step. At this point, you're going to go ahead and add your 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And add your 2 eggs. And go ahead and mix that in, whether you're using a hand mixer, whether you're mixing it on your own, or you're using a stand mixer. The same thing applies. Just mix it in really well, get everything incorporated, and don't forget to scrape down the bowl. That's a pretty important step because it depends on what type of mixer you have, but you just don't always get to the very bottom of the bowl, and you want to make sure everything's well incorporated. From there, you're going to go ahead and add your salt and make sure that you're spreading that out all over. I know some people like to add the salt to the dry ingredients, but I prefer to add the salt and the baking soda right to my wet ingredients right away because I feel like it gets incorporated a little bit better. So there goes the baking soda. And that was a teaspoon total. I just used the half teaspoon measuring twice. Mix it in, scrape down that bowl again, and get ready to add those dry ingredients. So there goes my whole wheat flour. And because I'm using white whole wheat flour, it is a little bit lighter in color. First thing that I did was whisk those together to kind of get it pretty well incorporated so that when I add it to my wet batter, I don't have like lumps of areas that don't have any of the cocoa flavor. And then just be real careful when you turn the mixer on. I do a little bit of the mixing by hand before I even turn the mixer on, just using the mixer with it turned off so that I don't end up wearing all of the flour and cocoa powder. And at this point, you should be coming up to a fairly thick consistency. Scrape the bowl down again. As you can see, I've got some areas where there's some butter that may have even just been stuck to my spatula. Get down to the bottom of that bowl. Get those sides scraped real well. And from there, we're going to do just a quick final mix before we go ahead and add those chocolate chips. And once the chocolate chips have been incorporated in here, you might even want to do that by hand. I did it with the mixer. It really doesn't hurt the mixer at all. It's time to chill the batter. So scrape the bowl down, get everything ready, and stick that in the refrigerator. Now, once you have your bowl in the refrigerator, you're going to want to keep it there from about 45 minutes to an hour. You could even keep it overnight, covered up. You just want the butter to get firm, and this helps your cookies to bake correctly, so don't skip that step. Then it's time to roll out the cookies. I just use a small cookie scoop. Make sure that my hands are nice and clean, and roll them out and put them on the tray. Now, while that is going on, while it's in the refrigerator, you want to make sure that you have your oven preheated to 350 degrees so that you're ready to roll. And then it's time to get the first batch into the oven. And at this point, they look and smell delicious. This is my first time making this recipe, and they came out wonderfully. So they do look a little wet and unsettled. You are to take them out, let them sit on the tray to cool, and then remove them from there. Put your next batch in, and while those are cooking, so you can see how they came out. They were a delicious chocolate flavor. My family didn't even know that I had used whole wheat, and so that is kind of what I'm trying to get done here, to have a delicious sweet treat for my family while incorporating whole grains into my family's diet. These whole grains are something that I'm looking forward to doing over the next year, so join me on my next recipe, White Shadow Fare, A Year of Grains. Thank you for joining me.